So Douglas is donkey. Um, the how long is it into any particular conversation that you have with a volunteer or somebody who's interested in the election until they get to the what states are you working in question? Like, are you like, or are you in a particular state? Like, oh, are you doing anything? I was talking to somebody this morning. They're like, what are you guys doing in Arizona? Okay, well, we're doing X, Y,
Yeah,
and Z, right? Pretty quick.
immediately these days. These days. I think before it was like, oh, what kind of work do you do? I'd say like last year. Now it's like it, everyone knows all the states, they know all the races, they know, and they have a strong opinion about where we need to be. So they want to make sure we're doing the right thing. Not
Yeah,
that they have anything to learn from us. They want they want to make sure we know as much as they do. Yeah.
right. So let's say I'm making up a number
And
here,
that's
but
good. Let me say that's good. I want to say that my opinion is that is excellent. That
yeah,
everybody has an opinion about politics and voting right now. It's great.
yeah. So there's some percentage of the American public that doesn't know a thing about politics, doesn't care. We'll call them no information or low information voters. All right.
Mhm.
And we're going to be talking about them in the next couple of days. But then the people who are engaged with the political environment, it's like you're talking a sports opinion with them today. They're
Yeah.
like, they're like, oh, Russell Wilson, man, Milt Wilson, he used to be good, right? He was really good, but no, man, no. And they're like, they say this, they talk the same way about Joe Biden. Joe Biden had a game. Yeah, he was good,
Yeah.
man. First couple of years, like he was
Yeah.
solid. But then,
Yeah.
man, he hasn't been very good since he twisted his ankle. All right.
He's got he's got to go, man. He doesn't, he can't run the same. He can't run the same.
Right. So they think this way about states too, where they are like, hey, you guys, we got to win X, Y, and Z. Or what about this senator in this state, Ruben Gallego in Arizona? Now we have a
Mhm.
skewed body of people we talk to, so we know that they're more politically knowledgeable than most. But we definitely get questions pretty quickly about which states Common Power is focusing on, and sometimes these are funding related questions where someone will say, look, I want to make a donation to a candidate. And what do you
Mhm.
think about candidate X, John Tester in Montana, for example? Um,
Right.
so, how much time, slightly, it was a related question. How much time does the fieldwork team spend talking and thinking about our states and our districts that we're in, our races?
Well, I think that there's that's a strategic planning thing. And I think there's a period of time for that. So I think we spent a lot of time last year and then going into this year, a ton of time. And you were a part of some of those conversations
Sure.
where we were, who's running for office, who's the competition, what are the special elections telling us in some of these states? What are our partner organizations? How mobilized are the community orgs in those states? Um, how much donations is a candidate receiving over time? And that has shaped where we are today. Um, some things that were not on our radar that are today are, Angela also Brooks was a big maybe for people, and now she has better chances of winning than John Tester and Sherrod Brown, right? Um,
Yeah. Yep.
uh, California and Oregon were not on our radar. Well, they weren't a high enough priority for us to send people there, and now they are. Virginia was on our map, and we got good word that they were okay in Virginia, and so we took them off. And then in these past few weeks, we're thinking about, oh man, should we put Virginia back on? So, you spend a lot of time on the strategy of that in the beginning, and then you kind of tweak the dials a little bit as you get more information because this landscape is ever changing. The political landscape is ever changing right now. And it's the most volatile, maybe that it's ever been during modern times.
Yeah. For sure. So here, I'm going to share the screen. This is going to be from our homepage. Going to share the screen of our United States maps, and this marks the maps that we are focused on, the states we are focused on. And I
Yeah.
want to what we want to talk about them. And we're going to do, after kind of a first pass here, we're going to kind of have like rank. We're going to rank them. We're going to rank the top and most important states. And we haven't started. Charles, I don't know what Charles is going to say. So we're each going to bring our rankings to this. Okay. But first, this is on the website. It's under the volunteer tab, and it's under the sub tab of find action. Okay.
Hey, why don't you just show us right now? Let's go back. So you go back to the homepage.
Okay.
Go back to the homepage real quick here, and it just got redone. So there's common power, and actually you just go there's a button there in the middle, right there under the
Right there.
right there, find action. Boom, right there in the middle before you even scroll down.
Okay.
That's the find action page, and then it just keeps scrolling. It's right there.
There it is.
The map is the first thing you see right after the kind of the header. Okay.
So there's a couple different colors here. What do the colors mean?
Yeah. So this year, one of the efficiencies and the way that volunteer um, teams are organized is there are a couple layers of volunteer leadership. So there are each state has a team that manages the dozens of volunteers that are going to be organizing around that state, and that's 3 to 5 people are the team leads for each of those states. This year we've got regions where we've got some of our most experienced team leads that then provide guidance to all their team leads in their regions. So because we've got 14 states this year and counting, it's tough to go to all these meetings. All these different states have their own, logistics around travel and, questions that people have, and candidates come in and talk to people. So the regions now are going to be having their own regional meetings where they're going to consolidate the state organizing within those regions and really do a bunch of the best practices sharing that we've gotten from people who've been doing this for a while. So it's more sustainable doing it this way for sure, with as many people as going to be volunteering this year.
So some of these states, so again, they're coordinated by regions right now. The colors are by region. Some of these states are crucial to win the presidency. Some of them are crucial to win the Senate. Some are crucial to win the U.S. House. And then some also have some really important state level races for governor or to flip a legislature. So we have selected these. The fieldwork team has identified these through conversations with partners, through their own analyses, through the constant kind of reading and subscribing to experts who analyze elections across the country, have selected these as our common power states of focus for this year. And all the ones that are highlighted by certain colors. And then Alabama is also a place where we're doing some unique work for a congressional House race there. So we have all these states. And as I said, some are important for the presidency, some are for the House and the Senate. And, so as you think about these, if you're trying to, let's go this way first. If you're trying to win the presidency, if we're trying to win the presidency, what's
you want to go layer by layer?
Yeah, let's do this. Yeah, let's go first. Then we'll do our final rankings, like our Douglas and Domke rankings. Okay.
Okay.
But if you want to win the presidency, then where do
Blue wall.
where are those states? What are those?
You got to go blue wall: Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. Not in any order, just left to right there.
Yep.
You got to get the blue wall. You want Arizona, but North Carolina, and this is assuming you've got the other ones. The blue ones go blue and the red ones go red that we're not headed to. And then you want one district in Nebraska, right? Which it's got me now thinking about that district in Nebraska, because we just talked about that.
It's in Omaha. There's the city of Omaha is the second congressional district, and it's represented by a Republican in the U.S. House, but Joe Biden won the district at the presidential level in 2020, and there's a good chance he can win it again. If Joe Biden or whoever the nominee is wins the the blue wall states of Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, and the second congressional district in Nebraska, and wins all the other states that you expect him to win, the
Hmm.
Californias, the New Yorks, the Virginias,
Hmm.
then he wins the presidency. Okay.
Yep.
Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, plus the second congressional district in Nebraska. As long as Joe Biden holds all the other states that you would expect him to win, then he wins the presidency. He can lose Nevada. He can lose Arizona. He can lose North Carolina, Florida, Ohio. He can lose
Oh, you
all of
think those are
those.
optional?
Yep.
Okay. So tell me some of let's talk about some of the ones then that he is expected to keep, but is now is polling is down.
Yeah, where he's struggling.
States like Virginia. Yeah.
Virginia, New Mexico,
Hmm.
Minnesota.
He's down in Minnesota. Yep.
Yep. So right now they're not even on our map. They're not even here on our
No,
map, folks.
because they're not supposed to be competitive.
Right. So the first three would be New Mexico, Minnesota, Virginia. I'd add to that New Hampshire and Maine. All right.
Mm.
Those are states that right now if we had a strong candidate at the top of the ticket, even in a very competitive race about Donald Trump, but one in which the Democrat was doing kind of having the success that you would expect them to have, then they would win New Mexico, Minnesota, Virginia, New Hampshire, and Maine, and it would be taken for granted.
Hmm.
It would be taken for granted. And then you go to the battleground states, the blue wall, and the North Carolinas and the Arizonas. But the problem right now is that the Democrats are actually struggling in all of those states. They're struggling
Yeah.
in all of those states.
Yeah. And when you say Democrats, you actually mean Joe Biden. The top of the ticket is because it's not the same for every candidate.
Yeah.
Tammy Baldwin's doing great in Wisconsin,
Yep. You're totally
even
right. It is
though
Joe Biden's
even
top
though
ticket.
Joe
Yep.
Biden's not doing well. Yeah. So it's different depending on the candidate.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to go Senate?
Yeah, let's go Senate. But
Tester in Montana.
to
Go ahead.
summarize this for presidency, if you're putting money out there and you want to support the Democratic ticket or Cornell West or whoever you want, okay, the states to be a focus would be Michigan,
No, no.
Wisconsin.
If you want to support Cornell West or RFK, just press stop on this podcast right now. Delete it.
Okay.
Unsubscribe. Unsubscribe immediately.
But if you want to support the Democratic candidate, then you want to go to Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, the second congressional district in Nebraska. Then after that, you would consider
Arizona, North Carolina.
Arizona, North Carolina, Nevada. Yeah. Okay. Let's
Yeah.
go to Senate now.
And I would say I if you're listening to this, you're part of the CP community, I think, and it would be great if your dollars were attached to our efforts. So you want to have confidence that your money is going to something useful. Know that we've already chosen to send our volunteer capacity there. So your dollars will go alongside our feet.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So then we look at the Senate and holding the Senate, which is a really difficult proposition. The Democrats currently have 51 seats in the U.S. Senate. You need 50 plus the vice presidency. Or if
Mm-hmm.
you don't have the vice presidency, you need 51 or more. So we're going to lose one of the seats for sure. It's in West Virginia. Joe Manchin is not rerunning. So that's going to be off the table. So for the Democrats to hold the Senate, they have to hold all of their current seats and either gain one more seat if they don't win the presidency or win the presidency and get the vice president as the tiebreaker. So it's a
Right. I mean,
very tough map.
yeah, and you've got some thoughts about if we just get to 50 and we don't have the presidency and the vice presidency. So we can talk about that later.
Okay.
But so let's go incumbents first. So you got John Tester in Montana,
Yeah.
got Sherrod Brown in Ohio,
Yeah.
Montana. Yep. You got Tammy Baldwin, you got Tammy in Wisconsin. Super safe. Super safe in Wisconsin. She told a story on Pod Save today. It came out today, recorded before. there's a guy working in a factory or farm or something, and um, he said, why are you keep getting on my guy Trump? Why do you keep getting on him? Um, and it was like she was doing her rounds, and the media went and asked him about that afterwards, and he was like, they were like, are you still going to support Tammy Baldwin? And he was like, what? Of course. Like he was like, what are you talking about? I love Tammy. She's the reason why I have a job right now. You know, forget what the industry is, but yeah, she's beloved, man.
Yeah.
Safe.
Well, so Baldwin's safe in Wisconsin, but Tester and Brown in Ohio, very threatened positions.
Yes.
Alyssa
Yeah.
Slotkin's running for the Senate in Michigan in an open Senate seat. That's competitive. She should
Yeah.
win, but that's competitive.
Yep. Ruben Gallego in Arizona.
Yep. And then
And then
Jackie Rosen
Jackie
in
Rosen.
Nevada.
Oh, she's an incumbent. Yeah.
Yeah, Rosen's an incumbent in Nevada. She's the only female medical doctor in the U.S. Senate.
Yeah.
Um, Gallego's running for Kirsten Sinema's open seat in Arizona. He
Mhm.
should be able to beat Kerry Lake. He should. All right.
I
But
think
it's
so.
competitive.
Fair.
Uh, then, so like if you go Montana, Ohio, Wisconsin, Michigan, Arizona, Nevada, then you go to Pennsylvania with Bob Casey, who
Bob Casey.
should win.
Mhm.
Um,
And then
and,
Maryland.
and then Maryland right here, where you said Angela
Angela
also Brooks.
Alsobrooks.
Yep.
Yep.
Who's running? She's got a tough
Those are
race.
two. She's got yeah, but it's not as tough as Ohio and Montana.
No, it's not.
Not even close. And Maryland's a blue state, as you remind me. So yeah, those are at the bottom of the priority list, those two.
If we're gonna flip, now those are all Democratic, what we'll call what the people in the industry would call a hold. The Democrats are trying to hold those seats in all of those cases. Montana with Tester, Ohio with Brown, Baldwin with Wisconsin, Slotkin trying to
Nevada.
hold a Democratic seat,
Mhm.
and Casey in
Nevada,
Pennsylvania,
hold.
Nevada, Arizona, yes. But then
Yeah.
the only place we got a shot at all to flip a seat.
Which we never talk about. Okay. I say it all the time, and you kind of roll your eyes a little bit whenever I bring it up. Uh yeah, it's Texas, Colin Allred.
So
And
who's he
I
running
think
against?
I don't know, some idiot who left his state during a storm and went to Cancun.
Cancun Cruise, right?
Whoever that guy is.
Yeah,
You know who's yeah, we I forget what his name is because he's been invisible. Ted Cruz has been. Did he speak at the convention? He
he
did.
did. He did speak at the
No
convention.
way.
Yeah, yeah, he did.
And apparently said nothing memorable because there's no clips of him speaking. There's clips of Hulk Hogan and the guy who runs Trump's club, but there's no Ted Cruz clips.
Yeah,
All
he
right.
wasn't probably even in prime time, which is like the 1 hour time slot when.
No, they had him at like 3 a.m. or something, right? So Ted Cruz is very beatable. He is. And I still think that there is a future where we do so damn well in November that we actually pick up Texas
If we were to
as
pick
well
up
as
Texas would
win
be
everything else.
enormous, be incredible. So the
I
best
think it's a
scenario,
possibility, man.
to win Texas, the Biden Harris ticket or Harris whoever ticket has to run close. Okay, they got to be within 5 percentage points in that state.
Mhm.
All right, Biden in his best days can do that. All right, in his best days, Biden can do that. Don't think he's there now, but he could do that. So they got to run it within 5%. Now, Colin Allred is a terrific candidate. He's a former NFL football player. He's you know very outspoken family man, strong progressive candidate. Allred is a very good candidate for the state. There's no question.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but here's the case where his fortunes are going to be impacted by who's at the top of the ticket and how they're running
Oh,
the campaign.
100%. 100%. Yep.
Um, so
Okay. US House?
U.S. House, sure.
Um, so this is when I know a little bit less, but I know that the states that stand out are Pennsylvania and Arizona because they're hot. We've already mentioned them twice for the presidential, for the less, and then the U.S. Senate. But there are House races there in Arizona and Pennsylvania. Um, Almost every other state, pretty much every other state that we've got here, there are consequential U.S. House races. Marie Gluesenkamp Perez
Yeah.
is probably top five in the target for the GOP to flip. It was 2 years ago, and it'll be again. Um, she's also she's an exciting new generational candidate that will define the party, I think, in a lot of ways in the future. Um, so you got her. You got in Oregon. You've got Janelle Bynum,
Yep.
who would be the first African American to represent Oregon, right,
Yep. Yep.
in the U.S. House.
Yeah. She's
California
running
is
in
is a
Oregon fifth.
Oregon fifth. California is a bunch of people. Dave Menn and oh, what's her name? So let's see. What is her name? Help me out. Where's Dave Menn running?
Oh, and Katie Porter's old seat.
Katie Porter.
Yeah. In Orange
Yep.
County. Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, we've got a couple races that we're focused on. You were showing me the list. We got four in California, four House districts, right?
Yep.
Um, two in Southern California, one in Central Valley, and one, I think, in just LA generally. So these are all districts that the Dems either narrowly hold or narrowly lost in 2022 and should win in a good presidential year. Again, if the top of the ticket runs and wins well in California, because they're going to win California, the Dems will win at the presidential level, California. But if they win by 23 points as opposed to 17,
Mhm.
then these down ballot candidates got a better chance to win.
Right.
This is the kind of margins that the arguments are being made about the Harris and Biden right now is the difference between 23 points and a 17-point victory in California is the difference between four House seats. All right. It is. If you go down to Arizona, there's two Republican held congressional seats, the first and the sixth, that are Biden won districts in 2020 that
Mhm.
are winnable, that the Dems should have won in 2022. Really, they should have, but they just didn't invest there much. So we want to win it, try to win in the first and the sixth there, and we got a good chance. We got a couple of good candidates there. Um, if you go to Michigan and Pennsylvania, the redistricting that was done in Michigan after 2018 reforms there produced new maps and made it a winnable place. And the Dems eventually won both the House, State House, and the State Senate in 2022. So we have a trifecta there. We want to hold that. We want to hold that at the
Yeah.
state level, and we want to hold it at the congressional level. It's tough. Michigan, here's a great example. Michigan's seventh, which is Alyssa Slotkin's district right now.
Mhm.
Slotkin has won it. It is the only district in the country that is held by a Democrat today that voted in presidential years for Obama, Obama, Trump, Trump. Okay.
Interesting.
It's the only
Interesting.
one held by a Democrat in this country that went that direction. So Slotkin,
Wow.
that's part of what makes her a great Senate candidate for the state. Okay.
Mhm.
But she steps away from running again then in the seventh, and it's an open seat. And there is uh, a DC based publication that does political analysis and does polling. And they came out with a poll in the Michigan 7th last week, which showed the Democratic candidate losing by 7 points to the Republican, and Biden and the Trump neck and neck. And so this is a district that is competitive. The Michigan 7th, the Dems, if they were to lose it, would lose a seat. And also, it's the kind of district where Biden should be running 10 points ahead. Should be running 10
Yeah.
points ahead.
Yeah. 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 Yep. That's it's more to the point. More to the point, man. Pennsylvania seventh as well. think what's her name, Susan Wild.
Yep, Susan Wild. Yep, very competitive district, right in the middle of the state, that kind of southern central Pennsylvania. Um, we
Yeah, that's the red state between Pittsburgh and Philly, right? That's what they say it is.
it's the T, the letter T between Philly and Pittsburgh, or as James Carville calls it, Alabama. All right.
Yeah, that's
Alabama.
right. That's right.
Alabama. He goes, you know what you call it between Pennsylvania, between Pittsburgh and Pennsylvania? I'm sorry, Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. You call it Alabama.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and Biden did well there in 2020. John Fetterman did that well there in that T in 2022. They didn't win, but they lost closely. All right.
Yeah.
They lost
Yeah.
closer, which allowed them to run up the margins then in the big cities of Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. Here is again a place where the Dems are struggling right now in that T of Pennsylvania. So
And we'll talk about what we think Kamala does for all these or whoever the Dem nominee is when we get to that point. But for now, this is the thing that, and this is good for people to remember with us, is that these candidates are these candidates regardless of who's at the top of the ticket, and the way to get them over the hump is still going to be, if you donate to them, they're going to spend most of that money on ads, and we are going to supplement that with door knocking. And it's the same formula. They're talking to the same voters about their records as elected officials, about what they're going to do with another term. That stuff is still pretty static. So that's why we're talking about this now, because regardless of what happens in the next few weeks, this is still going to be where we're headed. You might see a thing added here like we talked about with Nebraska, or another race in a state that we're already going to, but this is it.
okay, so one question to you, and then let's rank them to finish here. So
Okay.
imagine I'm somebody who has been connected to Common Power over time and has devoted time, work in the field, or phone calling, or postcarding, or has devoted treasure, financial support to support our work. And they look at this map and they're like, that's a lot of states. It's a lot of states. That takes a lot of time and a lot of treasure.
Yeah.
And so what I have been incredibly moved by has been the sophistication in which our fieldwork team now runs. Okay, the way in which you've built this. So when you look at that map, you're imagining hundreds of volunteers, some in which we're paying the way with sponsored dollars, others in which people are paying their own way. There are team leads, there are regional leads, there are partner organizations out there that are meeting us, hosting us, that we're building relationship. And then when you go out in the field, there's always some education going on too, often with a local teacher or professor, right? So
Yep.
how do you how have you built this? How have you done this? What has been the kind of like the core special sauce for how you built it?
Uh, I think it takes going out there and seeing how this runs. Like, you got to look at it up close. Um, you and I have been fortunate to spend time with people who have built really cool things. And remember that we were talking to the founder of Costco,
Yeah, Mr.
Jim
Jim
Senegal.
Senegal. Yeah.
We're talking to Jim Senegal, and we were in his office, and he's got this drawing that somebody did of a Costco, and it's like one of those Where's Waldo things, and it was really this cool, fun picture. And he's like, that's right. He's like, I, that those are my stores. He's like, I been to every single one of them multiple times. And we talked a little bit about that piece being the most important piece. Is you got to go to the ground level where your people who you invest in are servicing the community. You got to go to the point of delivery, as we say in
Hmm.
business sometimes. But you got to go to the point of delivery and see how it all works, because it's not just like an audit. I think people think of that.
Hmm.
It's actually, you actually learn more about your system when you go and see it delivered. When you go to the ground level and you watch your people do the work, you do it with them. You do it with them. You like stand side by side with them and do it. And you don't just tell them what to do in that system. Like they tell you. I slot in as a volunteer on a lot of these trips.
Hmm.
Often I'm a driver, and people get to get in my car, and then they get to grill me on all kinds of things. If you get in Charles's car, you get a good driver, and you also get to like prosecute your case about CP with the ED. But that's that's for me, that's been a big piece of it, is not removing myself from the ground level where the work is
Hmm.
done.
Hmm.
That's where I started. I remember you and I talked about this in the beginning, man, where I was like, I'm going. Like the hardest thing that we're asking people to do, I'm doing that. That's what I'm doing. And that's how I'm going to learn about this organization. And I'm going to learn more than the people who've been here, who've maybe been doing this longer, or were there at the, like, at the kitchen table with you on the idea about this thing. Like, I ended up knowing more about Common Power than anybody else. And I continued to do that. And then Common Power and the community, they teach me. They teach me about what makes this system work. The whole, like, you come for the work and you stay for the people. You come because you read this headline in the newspaper, or you're looking online, or you're looking at TV, and you're like, oh my God, I got to, like, Georgia's super important. I want to go there. That's what pulls you in. And then you start knocking on doors with people, and you do it enough times, and you're just like, yeah, I forget exactly what we're doing or what state we're in, but I'm here for these people. This is why I'm really going to stay here. You come for the work and you stay for the people. That's something I learned being out here in the field. Same with 100% comfortable is 70% certainty, not knowing about everything that's going to happen out in the field, and being super comfortable with that, following the lead of our partner organizations as a necessity, but also an efficiency, so that we don't have to process all that information on our end, and we outsource that to the people who know best. Those are all things that I have learned about us as we've done the work. So, you know, there's a ton of detail and answers to how have we built this. I'd say the first thing and the most core thing is you got to go out to the point of delivery, and you got to see how everything's working, and that'll tell you how to make it better.
Hmm. It- that that totally, we have that philosophy of like we go, and you embody that. And I think you also, in that, what you've just shared, there is you also mentioned we're going to start with the toughest job you got. Okay. We're going to start
Yeah.
start with no easy jobs. Like nobody comes up to leadership at Common Power without doing what we might affectionately call the grunt work. Right. And when we
That's
go on
right.
our
Everyone has to door knock.
when we go on our
It's a
learning
requirement.
tours, when we go on our learning tours, Bob Zellner would talk about Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, and how Jim Foreman, who was the chair when Bob started there, would hand people the broom when they came into the office, and would be like, you got to sweep the floors. All right. That's what you do before you do anything else. You sweep the floors. And your day to day immersion in our fieldwork teams. Like nobody has traveled and spent more time in the field with more volunteers than you in our organization, and that's part of what makes you so versatile and also so ready to kind of handle anything that comes up. So I see Charles is saying hello to his daughter there, who's waking up from a nap, who who gets to go on some of these trips too, and has been one of our very best door knockers. And that's part of the way the organization is rolled too.
Yeah, that's right. We take our families with us. Uh, yeah, I love this work. I love the work. And the way that I make it sustainable is I bring my family with me. That's how I can take so many trips. And then they start to like it too. Yeah, she's behind me taking a nap. That's why I was being kind of quiet when I was talking.
Sure, totally.
Let's keep going though.
Yeah, we're going to finish here. So I'm back to the map. I'm back to the map. And let's just say that we've got a certain amount of time and treasure. Uh, and we want to allocate it across maximum of 7 states. We don't have to do it to 7, but a maximum of 7 states. On this map right here, I think you said the number 14. I think there might be 14 highlighted here. But let's say we only had 7 maximum states that we could work in, and we had our time where we could go and do our work. We had time to do it, or we had the treasure, the amount of money to travel or to devote to send somebody else to do this work. If we had CP7, we'll go with the CP7. I'm curious which 7 you'd pick and how you would rank them from this is not a slight for any state or any team, but if you were, making these kind of calibrations, and sometimes we have to, how you'd rank them. I'll go with, well, let's see, 7's maybe too many. We don't have enough time to do 7. So let's pick 5. Let's pick 5. From 5 to 1, my 5th state, and then I'll ask you your 5th state. My 5th state is Ohio. My 5th state is Ohio. We have to win that Senate race with Sherrod Brown in order to hold the U.S. Senate, and I could easily see it as number 1. But in this calibration, that's the only key race we're working on in that state, and so I would put it 5th.
Okay, your 5th state is what? Ohio?
Yep.
Okay, we're waking up over here. Um,
Okay.
you're going top 5 only, huh?
Just for the heck of it. Yeah, just the amount of time. Do you want me to go through my 5 and then you can respond and critique my 5?
No, 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 no. I've got my 5th state is I'm gonna challenge your I'm gonna go Nevada.
Nevada.
I'm gonna go Nevada. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, well, in Nevada, you get Jackie Rosen's Senate race, you get 3
Yep.
important House races, and you get the presidential race, right?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Okay. All right. My number 4 is Montana with John Tester. For the same reason as Ohio with 5, we've got to win that Senate race. But it's the only race in the state. It's the only race in the state that we're working. Although the 2nd congressional district could in theory be competitive, depending on who's at the top of the ticket and how well they're doing for the Dems. So
Yeah, I like that. So I'm gonna go, and this is me just being different because I think if we chose top 5, we'd easily choose the same 5. I'm gonna go Arizona. And so I'm putting Arizona and Nevada in my top 5 because let me just explain this piece. One, Arizona is similar to Pennsylvania in that it is strategically viable for the presidency, the U.S. Senate, U.S. House, and also the state ledge there. I also think that um, having been on the ground and worked alongside some of the Dem infrastructure there, and I mean, state party chairs, state executive directors, which I didn't even know was a role in those in the state party infrastructure. I think that Arizona and Nevada are actually trending in our direction
yep, yep.
and are new strongholds for us. This is not to say that I know that we've got tough races in Ohio and Montana, and that those are must wins. I think though that that's all we get with those 2 states. All we get is those Senate seats, and we get so much more if we invest in Nevada and Arizona, and not just for November, but long term. Now, let me just say also, and I was, as we were starting up the podcast, I wanted to say this part too. When you rank a state, when you put up a list of states that are top 5 or top 7 or whatever, it doesn't mean that like you choose one over the other. You have to go to all of those damn states.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. You got to go to all the states. You got to walk and chew gum at the same time. So they may be ranked here for fun, but they're all at number one. These are all number one. You better, if you're a candidate and if you're a national candidate, if you're top of the ticket, you better go to all these states. If you're an organization that works nationally, these better be in your top of your list.
Yeah, if you're an organization that has the resources and the people, the time and the treasure to go to, let's go back to seven again, to seven, then you've got to
Mhm.
have Nevada and Arizona, and you've got to have Montana and Ohio,
Montana and Ohio. Yep. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So like really the ranking isn't the right way to go. You should do more what you guys do in field work, which is think of them in terms of tiers, right?
Tiers. Exactly. Exactly. Yep.
So we're like, if this is tier one, then we
Hmm.
got Arizona, Nevada, and we got Montana and Ohio, and then we know what the last three are, right?
We do. We do. But what's the ranking of those three, David? For fun. For fun. Um,
Wow.
I know this is tough, right? It's tough.
I've
I
thought
I
about this
am.
though. I've thought about this.
Have you?
Hmm.
Okay, okay. So let me go first. So of the three, I will say I am most worried about Michigan.
Mm.
Most worried about Michigan, having been there. That uncommitted vote was huge, and we have a real problem in Michigan with our traditional voting bloc on the left.
Uh-huh.
So that's why I put Michigan up there. I think Pennsylvania is right next to it, mostly because it is, like I said before, it's important to the presidential, U.S. Senate, U.S. House, and their state ledge. The state ledge is hanging out by a thread. So those are the number one, number two, I think.
Okay. So same three states, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. We got to win them all for the presidency. We got to win them all for the Senate.
Yeah.
So you're like saying you're pushing me though. You're like, what? How do you rank them? And I got to tell you that my rankings are exactly the same as yours. Okay.
Okay.
Michigan is the state that I would go to first. If we have limited time and treasure in this organization, so limited. We of course have limited, but like so limited
Mhm.
that we could only pick one state. I'd go there. I'd go there because I think it's very competitive because of the voting blocks there that are not happy with Joe Biden and the Biden Harris ticket. I'd go there because I believe that Ben Wickler and the Wisconsin Dems possibly can get it over the finish line in Wisconsin.
Mhm.
They're so good. And I believe that in Pennsylvania, the voting blocks that are leaning against the Democrats more than usual, which would be the Arab American population in the Detroit area and African American men, perhaps in Detroit and Flint
Mhm.
and Saginaw in Michigan, that those folks are not as disaffected with the Democrats in Pennsylvania as they are in Ohio, that Trump has a greater appeal to
In
them
Michigan.
in Michigan. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would go Michigan is the number one first investment. Pennsylvania's number two. Wisconsin's number three. They would be
Mhm.
the first three investments that I would make. And then I think that, then the other four in some order.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, let's finish here though by saying that we actually are in a position because of the support and the engagement, both of those, the support and the engagement of people, the support financially, the support emotionally, but also the
Mhm.
engagement in terms of work, the actual time and effort. We don't have to pick just one of those seven. We don't have to.
Right.
We don't have to
Right.
pick even three of those seven. We are going to have robust teams in all seven of those, plus even some more. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. And we got to be present all over the place. One of the interesting things about us coming out especially in the when other people aren't coming out. The general is going to have all kinds of people out there, but one of the things about the primary that remains important is morale. And I remember when we went out to Arizona really early in 2022, right after we were on the ground when Dobbs hit, and the
Hmm.
explicit vote of thanks from the people, the workers on the ground. They knew that they would be in the crosshairs.
Yeah.
They knew that they would get their rights taken away first, and they expressed to us how appreciative they were that we were there because from out of state, because it reminded them that they weren't alone in this fight. And it is so isolating. I mean, you whatever you feel watching the news, especially if you're listening to this and you're in Seattle or you're in New York or California, you're in a safe blue state. It is 10 times more difficult for these people that live in these swing states whose lives are affected by these
Yeah.
decisions.
Yeah.
And to be fighting in those states and to have continuing to do it now, and the what is this, the ninth year that we're in of
Us
of,
as an
of,
org?
of well, no, I mean all of us in Trumpism,
Oh, oh,
and
sure.
you know it's like it's a decade that we've been fighting this. If there are people on the ground that are organizing volunteers or phone banks or working for campaigns, they've been doing this for a decade possibly. And the morale that we bring to some of these places to let them know that there are people who care from all over the country, that's a huge deal. That's a huge deal. And I tell people, uh, if that's all we did, actually, that would actually be worth it. Those people who have owned businesses or corporations or organizations or teams and have paid for things to boost the morale of your team, like there's a monetary value to having a high morale in your team. Uh, that would be enough to justify the existence of common power. And yet we do much more than that, much more.
That last bit you just said, if that was all we did, boost the morale of our partners out in the field who are on the front lines, right? If that was
Hmm.
all we did, that's worth it in the long-term struggle, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's worth it in the short term. It's worth it. It's worth it in the short term for these organizations, these people in the front lines in these swing states to know that they've got their back, that are thinking about them, that give a damn about them. That's enough to have people keep fighting.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that just feels so ethically right about this work is that win or lose the election, we always win by being out there in community with other people, with ourselves that go together, and also with these other orgs that say, you really care enough to come from, wherever you're coming from to spend a week, to spend several days working in the 115 heat in Las Vegas,
In
right?
Arizona, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Um, okay. So, folks, we know that there's always interest in what our states are, and those are pretty solidified for this fall, those states. We will, when the Democrats in the next 6 to 7 days determine, I think, cement who the nominee is going to be, we will talk about how that decision affects these states, these top 7 or so states. Um, the ability to be able to work in this many states with the number of volunteers that we have and with the rising leadership that we're able to sponsor to go do this work is a remarkable thing. It is truly remarkable, and it's part of what makes our community so great in terms of support and engagement. So our little journey through the states here is really a journey through what is possible with common power. Um, so I think that's it. CP3D for today.
That's it, man. That's it. We're gonna go to this. We're gonna go to this toddler birthday party.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
that's awesome. CP3D. CP3D out.
All right.
All right, take care. See ya. Bye, September.